house flipping is dead. Now when I say that, I mean it in Australia. Sorry guys over in the US. I think that house flipping is dead here in Australia, and in this video I'm going to tell you why. So if you're thinking about house flipping, maybe you should reconsider. And what are the other options if you're looking into house flipping? Let's discuss it in this video. First of all, why do I think house flipping is dead in Australia? And there are a number of reasons and a number of comments I have to that question. First of all, it's the high price point and the number of taxes the government put on your real estate transactions here in Australia. They can include legal fees, buyer's agent fees or real estate agent fees, mortgage fees, building and pest inspections, solicitor fees, and the list goes on. There are so many fees associated with purchasing a property that these can add up, and if you continue to jump in and jump out of the property market, these fees will add up very quickly and they will cut into your profits. Now, transaction costs aside, the next thing I want to talk about is renovation costs. Different to the States and to other places around the world, Australia has such high wages and the cost of material here is not cheap. Renovation budgets can easily blow out, and with it they can blow away your profits. Now, tradies at a starting rate can range anywhere from $50 an hour up, depending on what type of quote they've given you. Most tradies here in Australia don't like to work for an hourly rate. They much prefer to give a quote for the full project, and that means they can earn a much higher hourly rate, especially if you're not calculating it yourself. Try and get your trades onto an hourly rate and keep on top of them within reason while they're working. Otherwise, you might get tradies that will happily charge you $10,000 to $20,000 for a smaller plumbing job where it probably would have cost them $5,000 if you'd done a cost plus materials charge. So as well as the tradies charging you potentially higher rates here in Australia, you've got to also look at holding costs. Now, holding costs aren't too bad, and given the low interest rates at the moment, holding costs can be pretty decent. But depending on your budget and the available cash, you might even have to borrow for your renovation costs. And this all has to be factored into the deal. So you've got purchase costs, you've got renovation costs, and then you've got selling costs. And that means paying an agent anywhere between 1 to 2.5% to sell the property that you've worked so hard to flip. With all these costs adding up, the next things that you need to think about are the market and whether there is a ceiling in the market. A ceiling means that there's other properties within the area that create a cap on the product that you've created after renovation. Now, people tend to be overly optimistic in doing their due diligence on deals, and they're wanting to get their hands stuck onto a deal and renovate and work hard and organize trades, but in all of that process, they don't do their due diligence correctly. And that might mean overestimating the future sale price of a property once the works are completed. This is a critical step in doing a flip, and there's a lot of risk in this situation as we're dealing with tens of thousands of dollars, and it could mean the difference between your deal going broke and sending you bankrupt and making hundreds of thousands of dollars at the end of the day. Now, doing comparable market analysis is not easy, and it's not for the faint-hearted. You need to research and collect data on similar homes that sold for unrenovated and other homes that are in the same area that are renovated and have sold for a higher value. And you need to work out, after all the work you've put in after purchasing an unrenovated home, whether you will be able to sell the home for top dollar in that area compared to other houses. Some of the other big factors in doing a renovation are considering the council fees and applications you need to make to get approvals to actually do your renovations. Some minor renovations you can do without council approval, but you don't want to get caught out or get stuck with a fine if you're doing the wrong thing and you're undertaking renovations that are unapproved, such as an extension or changing the internal layout of your property. These costs, when you're going to a town planner and architect, can add up, as well as paying the council to get your development application approved. The other critical thing I wanted to discuss in this video was understanding the contingencies and how budgets can blow out on a renovation project. Now, here in Australia, we need to do things up to code, and that means finding problems and fixing them in the right way is really important, especially when you might find uncovered issues with foundations or pests such as termites These things will need to be rectified, and if you haven't found these issues when you are doing your due diligence and inspecting the property up front, when these mishaps come up, you're going to need to have a contingency in your budget to make sure you can tide yourself over and get to the end of a project. Now, if you've made it this far through the video, you might see why property flipping is such a big ordeal and renovating to make profit is not easy. It might seem sexy on TV and on the block and all of the renovation shows that they have these days, but it truly isn't an easy process, and to get an end product that you're willing to put on the market and sell is not an easy process. Now, the options that you might consider are to outsource all this work to somebody else so that you can be a little more stress-free, or instead, you could buy and hold the properties and remove the selling costs and use the capital growth in the property to buy and purchase more assets. Now, the reason I believe property flipping might be dead here in Australia is that property flippers are going to get squeezed out of the market this year. With so much demand for homes, unrenovated homes are really going for a premium for their comparable sales in previous years. And that means flippers can't get enough margin between what they need to buy a house for and what they need to sell a house for after they've spent their renovation budget. Getting pushed out of the market is a real risk for property flippers, whereas if you're able to buy into the market, renovate and hold, you don't need such a large margin, and therefore you can price out the flippers. Instead, my recommendation is look to buy and hold, or do large-scale developments rather than smaller renovation flips if you're experienced in that area. I hope you found this video interesting. If you're looking to flip a property, I'd love to hear from you in the comments down below, or just leave a comment on your thoughts on property flipping and renovations. Leave a like on this video and subscribe down below. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.